Hi, and
Hi.
welcome to another special episode of
Get
I
oh
wasn't ready.
oh
See, I was just no. Welcome to a special Get Real. I'm cool because my mom says I'm cool. So let's make sure we get that. Make sure we understand that I'm cooler than you, Miss Pengrino,
okay.
and I'm Hot Toddy. And welcome to this a special episode of Get Real. It's hard to believe that we're already doing another one of these. 2022 went by
So fast.
ver fast, and so now that it is 2023. We did a lot of Get Reels last year, but there were some movies that we saw that we did not do reviews on this show.
Hmm.
And so this is our annual backtrack and check out and talk about movies that we did not see, or we did see in 2022,
But
but
didn't
did not
review.
review on Get Real.
Mm.
Hence, what we miss in 2022. And that's what we're going to talk about. And it's
Okay.
weird because last year's episode, if you remember,
Long. It's
long
really
ass
long.
episode. It was a two-parter. Here's the time code for part one. Here's the time code for part two. We had a lot of movies to talk about, which is weird because we saw about the same amount of movies in 2021 and 2022.
Hmm.
But the difference is we did more get reels in 22
We were just on it
than we did
a
in
lot
21.
better.
Well, we felt like there was a lot more movies that deserved a
Talking
review.
about
Talking about because there was a
they
lot
were
of
worth it.
there were a lot of big movies in 2022 as opposed to 2021 because there were just some kind of movies just that were good but like
Meh.
didn't deserve the whole treatment. So
Yeah.
whereas the last one of these that we did was super long in January of 2022, this one not so
It's
long.
gonna be a baby
Maybe
episode.
maybe it might be a two-parter. I don't know where it's going to go from here. We just have to get into it. But no, that's what we're going to do in this episode
Okay.
is we're going to talk about movies that we saw
Hmm.
but did not talk
Review.
about. Miss Pellegrino,
Yes.
I have my sheet of paper that has a list of the movies that we saw, and this is how poor we are. Okay, this is how bad it is. This is how bad it is. We can't even afford print.
Stop.
We can't even afford ink for our printer.
we, we can't afford full letters.
Just a
We can
dollar.
only afford
Listen,
half letters.
listen. Just $1 a day can save people like me and Miss Pengrino. Okay, that's all. That's all we need. We need Sarah
So,
McLachlan for this.
In the arms of the angel.
can't play the song all the way.
We can't, right?
Yeah, because we
Because
can't afford that
we would get
at
fined for
all.
that too. Thanks, YouTube. Yeah, so that's so I'm having to just kind of make sure I guess exactly what
There's
movies
not
to
that
do. There's
many,
not
so
that many.
we're
It's
okay. If
easy.
like the list was longer, it would have been more of an issue.
Yeah, so that would have been an issue. But anyway, this should be pretty easy. So, Miss Pellegrino, let's talk about the first movie that we did not talk about on Get Rebel. We did see was back in the spring. It was a little film called The Lost City.
You led me straight to the lost city. Now, prepare to die.
There were just hundreds of snakes in this temple just waiting for us to show up.
What? Why aren't they biting that guy?
This is ridiculous. Delete. Delete. Delete.
Of course, this movie had Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum as the stars.
Love them both.
What do you think of The Lost City, Miss Pengrino? We're just going to start with you
So-
because a lot of these movies I'm going to be bashing really
Okay.
hard. So you
And
go
a lot
ahead.
of them I won't, because these movies are my kind of movies,
You go ahead.
which means they are mostly, I would feel like, comedies that don't require a lot of brain power. Would you agree?
Oh, undeniably would not need a. Actually,
Okay.
like so. A few of these. Well, okay. There's one movie on here that's not a comedy,
Right, and that's the one I haven't seen.
but it
so,
but it also needed no brain power to get through.
Okay.
So
so
it's a Michael Bay movie. So that
Okay.
tells you anything.
That shit was ass.
So of course I enjoyed this movie because it's my kind of movie. It's a comedy with a little bit of romance, like a little bit, not like heavy on that. But and then I love Sandra Bullock. I love Channing Tatum. So I thought it was funny.
Sandra Bullock, God bless her. Like there was a time when she was in some hard hitting films. in the 90s. Like she was in The Net, which was all about, when the internet was just coming about, and the terrorization that could come with the internet. Speed, which was a huge action movie with Keanu, and it was great.
Keanu.
Then she was also in A Time to Kill, which had a very powerful statement about race in that movie. She was also in The Blind Side, which was a very special sports film, featured Philip Fulmer, the former coach of our Tennessee Volunteers. A lot of cool things. Then she'll do movies like What About Steve? As it was What About Steve or All About Steve with Bradley Cooper when he was first coming in. One of those, and it stank. She was
that
also
one I didn't like.
No. And she was also in
Proposal, but I love that
Proposal,
one.
but that one, you know what?
And Ryan Reynolds and Betty White. Like, how could you not love that one?
I was about to say that gets a pass for Betty White. Betty White alone gives that movie a pass. Gives that movie a pass.
She almost didn't want to do it because she was going to be she'd have to be away from her golden retriever for 6 weeks.
Oh my god!
And she didn't want to do it. So Betty was like, "Oh, I don't know about
Bring
this.
the dog. You're a celebrity. Who cares?"
I mean, apparently they cared.
Apparently they cared. If we cared more, we'd get ink for our printer.
Stop.
But anyway, no. So yeah. But that movie gets away with it. And then there was the Ocean's
13,
14,
15.
I don't remember. It was the Ocean's
One
movie.
Of the numbers.
It was the all-female Ocean's movie. And you would think that was going to be like a really great film. It wasn't.
Not.
It wasn't.
I didn't think
There's only
great.
one. Now there is one really like bad film that she was in that I love, and that's The Heat. With Melissa
McCarthy. I mean, again,
that was a great film.
Some of the people she's with, film. Like, how could you?
But
or Miss Congeniality, that's a classic.
Well,
that's a classic.
That's back in those days when she was really doing. I'm talking about the days when it stank. Stanky days. Okay, stanky days.
The stanky days.
Yeah, I'm talking about stanky days. Miss Congeniality, great film. Miss Congeniality 2, not so much.
Questionable.
But so, I love Sandra Bullock, but it's a shame that she's now in this stage in life when she's just doing whatever. And she's not really getting put in the big hardcore films.
A lot of celebrities fall into that category, though.
That she used to be in, So it was, I miss those days. I wish she had more of those types of films. So I guess whenever you take what you can get, if you can get a Sandra Bullock film with Channing Tatum, it's a romantic comedy. It's not even a romantic comedy. It's a comedy with some romance elements to it. But you were going to say something, and I interrupted.
It's the basic premise. She's a book writer. She writes all these like love adventures, but never actually partakes in them herself. Channing Tatum is her model who like helps sell her books. She originally was an architect. Not an architect, archaeologist.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And so, but when her husband passed...
Quite different in careers there.
Right. Well, her husband passed and she didn't want to do it anymore. And so then she did these things. And
she started doing this. And
basically, due to some archaeological thing that she had information on, she gets like kidnapped. Channing Tatum gets stuck with her. They go through...
No. There's a MacGuffin in the film. A MacGuffin, something that that everyone in the movie is trying to go get. Daniel Radcliffe kidnaps her. Harry Potter makes a return. We saw him in Weird, which is a great film. But he kidnaps Sandra Bullock so that she could track down the MacGuffin for her. Channing Tatum tries to go and save her. And of course, there's a cavalcade of hilarity and consequences and run-ins with hilarity.
Yeah.
Sort of. Not in my opinion. But I mean, so you like this movie. I
falls into a category of like an Adam Sandler movie for me.
No, because Adam Sandler movies are dumber than this. This movie was fine. Like you said, it's a dumb comedy, and so this was in the spring, so this was pre-blockbuster summer stuff. So it's good to have something sort of like a placeholder before we got into the summer, because when we got into the summer, I mean, go back and look at our list of episodes. We had Top Gun Maverick, we had Jurassic World Dominion, Thor: Love and Thunder. Some of these films I liked, some were meh. But the point is like there was a lot of movies this summer. This was a spring film.
I guess for me, it was a nice break from all the action that basically I felt have been the only thing to really be put out
I
for
guess
the past like 2 years.
Well, but yeah, well,
because comedies now have just been going straight to Netflix
They
or straight to
have.
Hulu or straight. So it was the first thing because we did see this in theaters.
we did see this in a theater.
We did.
We paid money to see this movie.
We did not pay money. To
Oh,
see
this was
movie.
another occasion
Yeah.
where mom and dad to the rescue.
Yeah. It was a nice refresher for me because lately, all we've been going to theaters to see is some sort of action.
But you say that, but there were some good comedies in 2021, like Free Guy. We went to go see that. And that was in our recap last year.
Yeah.
And then we also saw Burn Notice, coincidentally also featuring Ryan Reynolds, but that was on Netflix or something.
Right.
It was on streaming. But it was a decent film. But the point is that there's
Again, I'm
still
talking
some...
about in theaters.
Okay, well,
in theaters.
Comedies just don't work well in theaters anymore.
They don't.
You have to
They
make
don't.
peace with it. That comedies
People
don't
just
work
really
well.
don't want to pay that much money to go see something that's probably not going to be top of the charts kind of thing. And,
No.
and I get it.
Yeah.
But, there's still some of us who would like to just have the theater experience and don't always want an action movie. I want something else.
I guess, but that's what sells, man. That's the type of movie that sells.
I know that's what they make money off.
But this movie was dumb. It was stupid. The plot was stupid. It's fine for what it was. As we say many times on this show, it was fine for what it was.
Should it probably have just been released to Netflix?
It probably it would have
probably
would have been a great Netflix movie, I think. But it was fine. It was okay. But what was really unique is later in the year we realized that this movie was filmed at the same time as another movie because we reviewed that other movie on Get Real. In this movie, it stars Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum with a cameo appearance. It's actually a little bit more than a cameo. He's in it. He's in it for
not much more.
Maybe 15 minutes of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Brad Pitt. So you have those three together. That was in the spring. Fast forward to the late summer, we saw a movie called Bullet Train, which we did on Get Real. And we talked about how Brad Pitt is the main star of that movie. But it also had Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum in cameo roles for the film. So it's clear to me that these movies are being made at the same time. And in one occasion, either Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum said to Brad Pitt, or Brad Pitt said to Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum, "Come make a cameo in our film. Come make a cameo in this film,
and we'll make
and I'll go make a thing in your film." So they traded off because it was just a little too coincidental.
A little bit.
That two movies the same year, polar opposites, had the same three. You can have the same two cast members. That's not that crazy. But same three people, that's pushing a little bit. So clearly these movies were made it around the same time, and clearly. They knew what they were doing when making Bullet Train because it was a better film.
I really enjoyed Bullet Train.
And you enjoyed The Lost City too. I don't think we've reviewed it very much here, but it was kind of blah for me.
If you're looking for a brainless comedy, if you like Sandra Bullock, if you like Channing Tatum, go watch it. If you don't want any of those things,
if you like Harry Potter,
he's in it for a good bit. If you don't like any of those things, don't watch it. Move on to the next thing.
The Lost City.
Okay, next one. I have no idea what this one is.
Next on the list is a film that I watched at my parents' house during the 4th of July weekend. It's a Michael Bay disaster, headache-inducing film called Ambulance.
I'm sorry, brother. Sorry that I brought you into this. I just wanted things to be the way they used to be.
Stars Jake Gyllenhaal in this movie. It's about a dude. Yeah,
I think I saw.
Did you see it? You didn't see it.
I didn't see it.
You saw the
like
previews.
The previews.
Yeah. So it's about this guy, Jake Gyllenhaal. I can't remember if Jake Gyllenhaal was the adoptive brother or the other guy was the adopted brother. Anyway, it's a blended family. The other guy is a black man. I don't remember the actor. I can't remember who all was in this movie. But anyway, he's down on his luck. And whenever he, apparently, as the movie kind of explains, whenever he's down on his luck, he turns to Jake Gyllenhaal because Jake Gyllenhaal is a little shady. And so he's like, maybe we'll do something a little shady so I can get some money. And they go on a heist. They do a bank robbery, and it goes haywire, and they end up wounding a police officer, and they hijack an ambulance. So obviously they're able to do some medical work in there because they have ambulance, so they're able to take care of the police officer and whatever. And it just goes on from there, and it's this big long. It's basically an hour and a half chase scene. And it's loud and obnoxious, and it's
loud and obnoxious.
It's your typical like big action movie plot, and it's extremely predictable from beginning to end. It was blah. I remember. I'll never forget when I watched. It was July 2nd of 2022, and the reason why I knew that is because I was in for the 4th of July weekend.
I had to work.
You had to work, unfortunately. You weren't there. I was in for the 4th of July weekend at my parents' house. They're like, let's watch a movie. And they're like, oh, let's watch this Jake Gyllenhaal movie, Ambulance. I'm like, sounds great.
No.
I'm going to edit a video while you guys watch this. And I did. I edited the January 3rd Sunday Fun Day because it was coming out the next day, and it was just a few minutes long. So I edited it while I was watching Ambulance. So that's why I can't really remember a whole lot about it. But I do know that the plot and everything that happened in it, and it was a blah film. It's another one of those, I think it was in the theaters, but I don't think he was in it for very long. See, this goes back to a discussion a few minutes ago. You say that big blockbuster films like that sell in theaters. Not like that. That movie came and went. It was a literal fuckboy. It came and left.
Bitch, are you for real?
Game and left. Deuces.
I apologize.
It was not one that I wanted to see. There are some actions that I can be like, I could probably get behind this. Let's go watch it. But that was from the previews alone. I was like, oh, yeah, no.
It was a lot. And at first when they said, let's watch this, I'm like, I don't recognize it. And then I saw it was Jake Gyllenhaal. I was like, oh wait, I remember seeing the previews for this shit.
Literal.
And I did not want to see it then. Yeah. I don't want to see it now. But here we are talking about it on Get Real. So yeah.
So next.
Oh, by the way, would you recommend The Lost City? We didn't do that a second ago.
I would, because I enjoyed it.
No. And I would not recommend Ambulance either, because
I haven't seen it. I've only seen the previews, and I still wouldn't recommend it.
I've come to the conclusion that if a movie is directed by Michael Bay or Roland Emmerich, I'm just gonna say no thanks, and I'm just gonna back away slowly with my hands out. No thanks. No, bye. Because Michael Bay did the first few Transformers movies.
Yeah.
The first Transformers movie, really good.
I enjoyed it.
And then I went to go see the second one in 2009. And it was the longest movie about big machines fighting each other. And I said, I give up on this franchise. Never again am I doing another Transformers. And I haven't. Since 2009, I've never done Transformers again.
I watched the first
No Bumblebee, none of that crap. None of it.
I watched the first one. I loved it.
Yes, the first one was...
the rest of them, I've only literally seen bits and pieces. I've not seen
the first one was like a fun action-adventure disaster movie. And it was, and nobody died or anything.
Plus, I also like Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, Shia LaBeouf. And Megan Fox.
Megan Fox.
Also from here in East Tennessee. So that was really cool. But whatever. And then they lost me after that one. So Ambulance, directed by Michael Bay. No.
California dreaming.
The next film is Pengrino. I want you to talk about this ish because it's one that you saw.
Okay.
Sonic the Hedgehog Deuce.
Quick stretch, little snack, and here we go.
There will come a moment when your powers will be needed. But you don't choose that moment. That moment chooses you.
I just got goosebumps. Wait a second, did you steal that from Oprah?
Yeah, I did see it because
I didn't want to.
I had to watch it by myself because somebody wouldn't watch it.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
What's it about, Miss Pengrino?
The continuing adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. They go to her sister's wedding, leaving Sonic by himself, and Sonic is now being hunted again by Jim Carrey's character,
The bad guy from the video
the
games.
the bad guy from the Mr.
I don't remember. I used to play. I
I
played
want to say
Sonic.
it has egg in the name.
I played Sonic when I was a kid, but I never really learned all the characters' names. I just knew Sonic, and who you didn't need to know anybody else because Sonic was epic.
Right. So, in the first one, the ending, they banish him to the Mushroom Land. You're like, oh, it's over. It's cool. It's done with. But it's not, because he finds out how to send, because he still has one of Sonic's quills. And so he figures out how to send a message, into the Ring universe, all the universes, with this quill.
Oh god, there's multiple universes in Sonic too?
There's multiple universes, not multiple worlds that are linked by these rings.
I'm already exhausted.
That they go through. And so Knuckles, the red Sonic from the game.
Sure. Yeah, Knuckles.
Comes in contact with the bad guy. And so now they're going to go hunt Sonic together because they both have like a hatred for him, yada, yada, yada. There's a whole story behind that. Whatever. Also, Tails comes into play too. I guess he's a fox.
Sure.
Two tails.
Whatever.
He tries to make it to Sonic first to try and help save Sonic. He's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do because like I'm a baby. Like I can't do anything to help you.
I'm a baby. Yeah.
So basically, it's what they have to find is this emerald. This emerald can like make somebody all powerful. It had been broken up into pieces once before through all the different worlds. They put them back together. I don't know. It can make you all powerful. They have to find this emerald. They have to stop the Eggman from getting the emerald.
Okay, is that the premise? Is that it? Is that the plot?
Pretty much. Tails and Sonic go on adventures. The Eggman and Knuckles.
Shut up! Oh my god, I don't care!
Well, what'd you think of it? Was it good?
I liked it, yeah. I mean, it's a video game movie.
It certainly is, Miss Pengrino.
Did you like the first one?
I never saw the first one.
Oh.
Because I didn't want to see it, and I didn't want to see the second one either.
Are you going to see Mario?
It's going to be painful, but probably. I'm going to have to force myself.
Okay, because I want to go see that.
Let me tell you something. When we started this show, Sonic the Hedgehog the movie came out before we started this show. Before I started this show, it was literally a few months before I started Get Real. So I didn't have to review that.
to do that.
And then the second one came out. I'm like, didn't see the first one. Not gonna see the second one. Fuck it. Fuck you.
Fuck you.
You can go see it yourself. But yeah, so that's why I had no desire, and I have very little desire to see the Mario movie, but I guess I have to because Mario's my favorite video game, so I'm going to give it a shot. See what happens.
Sonic was kind of my favorite video game growing up. I had Sega. I played a lot on Sega, so I enjoyed Sonic thoroughly. So therefore, I enjoyed the movies. I also love Jim Carrey.
Oh, well,
and he plays an excellent, creepy, weirdo bad guy.
I have a little shrine to Jim Carrey over there, right here in the media room. Who doesn't love Jim Carrey?
Exactly, and he's in both the movies.
I know, but that still doesn't mean I have to go see this pile.
I mean, you don't, but it's still really good. And
would you recommend it?
I would, especially if you have kids, especially if you like Sonic as a kid. You know, I liked it. I enjoyed it.
There you go. And now, Miss Pengrino, it's time to move on to our next film, which is...